The acrid scent of ozone and blood filled Commander Axel Mercer's nostrils as he moved through the smoldering ruins of the Zalari research facility. His squad had already cleared the main chambers, leaving him to sweep the lower levels alone. The final phase of Operation Endgame was nearly complete. Humanity's 8-year war against the psychic predators would end today. Sector 7 clear, he reported into his comms, the words echoing inside his combat helmet. Moving to final chamber. Mercer's hand tightened around his pulse rifle as the door to the underground laboratory hissed open. The war had cost him everything. His wife, his daughter, his hometown. All vaporized in the Zalari's first strike on Earth. Every alien he'd killed since had been a small payment toward an unpayable debt. The laboratory lights flickered, casting eerie shadows across abandoned equipment. Something moved in the corner, a faint rustle followed by labored breathing. "Contact," he whispered, raising his weapon and activating his tactical light. The beam illuminated a slender figure chained to a medical apparatus. A female Zalari, her silvery skin marred with bruises and surgical scars. Unlike the warriors he'd faced, she wore no armor, just a simple medical gown. Her large, iridescent eyes, characteristic of her species, reflected his light with an almost hypnotic intensity. "Human," she rasped in perfect English, her voice surprisingly melodic despite her condition. "You've come to finish me." Mercer's finger tensed on the trigger. One more dead alien. One final enemy. "That was the plan," he replied, aiming at her head. "My name is Avaria," she said, making no attempt to struggle against her restraints. "I am the last surviving geneticist of Project Convergence, and what grows inside me could save both our species." Mercer scoffed. "Your kind doesn't believe in saving anything. Only conquering." Avaria's hand moved slowly to her abdomen, drawing his attention to the slight swelling there. "This embryo carries both human and Zalari DNA. A perfect hybrid, adaptable to any environment, possessing human ingenuity and Zalari psychic potential." "Bullshit," Mercer spat, but didn't fire. "Your species can't even tolerate our atmosphere without suits." "The war was started by extremists," she replied, a trace of bitterness in her voice. "Not all Zalari sought conflict. Some of us saw potential in cooperation in evolution. I volunteered for this experiment before the war escalated." She winced suddenly, her chains rattling as pain contorted her features. "My own people imprisoned me when they discovered what I'd done. They called it contamination." Mercer's comms crackled. "Commander, status report." He hesitated, mind racing. Military protocol was clear, no survivors. But if she was telling the truth? "Still sweeping," he replied. "Possible data cache. Give me 5. "Roger that. Demolition charges set. This place burns in 10 minutes. Mercer lowered his weapon slightly. "Prove it. Show me something." Avaria closed her eyes, and suddenly Mercer felt a gentle pressure against his mind, not the violent psychic assault Zalari warriors used, but something softer, more intimate. An image formed, a laboratory, human and Zalari scientists working side by side, and cellular structures merging on view screens. "The hybrid possesses immunity to all known diseases affecting both species," she whispered as the connection faded. "Enhanced regeneration. Potentially extended lifespan. The next evolutionary step. Or the next weapon," Mercer countered, but his conviction was wavering. "If you kill me," Avaria said, her eyes meeting his, "this potential dies. But if you protect me, your kind may become unstoppable, not through war, but through transformation." 8 years of hatred warred with the scientist Mercer had been before the invasion. The facts were compelling. A hybrid could change everything. "Commander," the voice in his comms was impatient. "From minutes to detonation." Mercer made his decision. He slung his rifle and moved forward, unlocking her restraints. "If you're lying to me," he warned, supporting her weakened body as she stumbled forward, "I'll finish what I started." Avaria's hand brushed his as he helped her stand. "I swear on the life growing inside me. I want only survival. For all of us." The facility rumbled ominously above them. "We need to move," Mercer said, guiding her toward the exit. "And you need to disappear." The emergency medical bay of Mercer's scout ship hummed with activity as life support systems struggled to maintain an atmosphere suitable for Avaria's physiology. She lay on the examination table, her silvery skin glistening with fever as Mercer frantically adjusted the oxygen mixture. "Your ship's atmosphere is too rich," she gasped, her chest heaving with effort. Nitrogen levels. Too low. Mercer cursed, fingers flying across the environmental controls. Hold on. I'm recalibrating. He had smuggled her aboard in an equipment case, narrowly avoiding detection during the extraction. His squad believed him to have been trapped by falling debris, delaying his exit until after they'd evacuated. The deception bought him precious time, but the rendezvous with the command carrier Dauntless loomed just 18 hours away. As the cabin's atmospheric composition shifted, Avaria's breathing eased. "Thank you," she whispered. Mercer studied her with wary fascination. The sworn enemy of humanity looked impossibly fragile now, one hand protectively curved over her abdomen. "Why would your own people imprison you?" he asked, checking her vitals on the scanner. Avaria's luminescent eyes clouded. The Zalari High Command feared what we were creating. A being beyond their control. Her voice softened. "Most of my colleagues were executed. I was kept alive only because terminating the pregnancy might have destroyed valuable research data." "And the human DNA? Where did that come from?" "Prisoners," she admitted, not meeting his gaze. "I fought against that method, but was overruled. If it helps, I treated them with dignity." Mercer's jaw tightened. Another reason to hate her kind. And yet, how far along is the pregnancy? For lunar cycles, our gestation period is typically 9, like humans. She hesitated. The embryo's development is accelerated. Already, its neural pathways show unprecedented complexity. The ship's computer chimed a proximity alert. Mercer moved to the viewport, watching a patrol cruiser pass by. So close to discovery. "I should hate you," he said quietly. "As I should hate you," Avaria replied. "Your kind bombed our colony worlds before any formal declaration of war." Mercer turned sharply. "That's propaganda. The Zalari struck first." "Is that what your leaders told you?" Her expression held no malice, only exhaustion. Perhaps both sides have blood on their hands. The thought was unsettling. Mercer had never questioned the military's account of the conflict's beginnings. Before he could respond, Avaria convulsed suddenly, crying out in pain. "What's happening?" he demanded, rushing to her side. "The embryo, psychic development, surging," she gasped between waves of pain. Without thinking, Mercer took her hand. Her fingers intertwined with his, cool against his skin. As the attack subsided, neither withdrew from the contact. "You lost someone," Avaria whispered, her psychic abilities obviously sensing his buried grief. "My wife. My daughter." The words burned his throat. "Toronto Arcology. First wave." Avaria closed her eyes. "I lost my bondmate at New Mars. Human counterattack." The silence between them grew heavy with shared loss. "We should rest," Mercer finally said, preparing to secure the medical bay. "Tomorrow I need to figure out how to get you past a ship full of soldiers who'd shoot you on sight." As he turned to leave, her voice stopped him. "Commander, why did you save me?" "Truly?" Mercer considered the question. 8 years of destroying. Maybe it's time to create something instead. That night, as he lay in his bunk reviewing schematics of the Dauntless, Mercer realized with growing unease that his mission had fundamentally changed. He was no longer just a soldier of humanity. He had become the protector of its future. "You've lost your mind, Commander." Major Helena Devereaux circled the makeshift holding cell where Avaria sat, her eyes clinical and cold. "Or perhaps you've been compromised by Zalari mind control." Mercer stood rigidly at attention, his gamble having failed spectacularly. He had attempted to bring his superior officer into his confidence, believing her scientific background would help her see the potential. Instead, she had immediately called security. "The hybrid represents a scientific breakthrough," he argued. "Think of the applications." "I am thinking of them," Devereaux interrupted. "Which is why I've ordered the alien to be transferred to central labs for vivisection. The embryo will be extracted for study." Horror flooded Mercer's veins. "She won't survive that procedure." "She's the enemy, Commander. Her survival isn't a consideration." Devereaux's voice softened slightly. "I'm attributing your lapse in judgment to PTSD. Report to medical for evaluation." "That's an order." As guards led him away, Mercer caught Avaria's gaze. The fear in her eyes wasn't for herself, but for the life she carried. 3 hours later, alarms blared throughout the Dauntless. Mercer, having overpowered his medical escort, raced through maintenance corridors toward the science wing. The ship's security protocols worked to his advantage. Lockdown procedures sealed most personnel in their current sections. He found Avaria strapped to an examination table, medical instruments arranged nearby. The two lab technicians barely registered his entrance before his stun baton rendered them unconscious. "You came back," Avaria murmured as he released her restraints, disbelief coloring her voice. "Bad habit of mine." Mercer helped her to her feet, then tossed her a spare environmental suit. "Put this on. We're taking a shuttle." They moved through service passages, Avaria growing stronger with each step as her remarkable physiology recovered from the sedatives. At one junction, they encountered a security team. Mercer engaged them while shouting for Avaria to run ahead. To his surprise, she instead raised her hand. The security team froze, their expressions going blank before they collapsed. "How did you?" Mercer began. "Pregnancy enhances our abilities," she explained, swaying slightly from the effort. "Temporary effect only." The shuttle bay was minimally guarded during the emergency. They commandeered a long-range science vessel, Mercer's command codes still valid enough to initiate launch procedures. As they broke free of the Dauntless, pursuit crafts scrambled behind them. "We're designated traitors now," Mercer said grimly, plotting a course toward the disputed territories. "No going back." Avaria placed her hand over his on the controls. "Why risk everything for me? For us?" The question hung between them as he executed evasive maneuvers, pursuit ships closing fast. Finally, he activated the experimental quantum drive, an untested technology that might tear them apart at the molecular level. "Because I've seen enough death," he answered as the stars began to stretch around them. "And whatever's growing inside you represents life. A future." The quantum jump succeeded, hurling them into uncharted space. As emergency systems stabilized, Mercer found himself drawn to Avaria's side. Her hand reached for his, and this time, the contact felt natural. "Necessary. Your child will never know peace if both our kinds hunt us," she whispered. "Our child," he corrected softly, surprising himself with the possessive pronoun. "And we'll find a place. Somewhere beyond this war." His hand tentatively moved to her abdomen, feeling the slight swell there. Beneath his fingers, something stirred, a tiny psychic touch against his consciousness that left him breathless. As the shuttle drifted through alien stars, enemies in pursuit, and an uncertain future ahead, Mercer realized the walls he had built around his heart were crumbling. What replaced them was equally terrifying and wondrous. The hidden research station orbiting an unnamed gas giant had once been a joint xenobiology project, abandoned early in the war. Now it served as headquarters for the Convergence, a rogue scientific collective comprising both human and alien researchers dedicated to ending the conflict through biological and cultural integration. "The fetal development is progressing at twice the expected rate," Dr. Isolde Vega announced, studying the holographic scan hovering above Avaria's abdomen. The human physician had been skeptical when Mercer and Avaria had first arrived 3 weeks earlier, but the hybrid's remarkable biology had quickly won her scientific devotion. "The neural structures are unlike anything I've ever seen," she continued. "Psychic centers that shouldn't be compatible with human cerebral patterns are perfectly integrated." Avaria smiled, her hand entwined with Mercer's. Their relationship had evolved during their month as fugitives, initial distrust giving way to respect, then attraction, and finally an unexpected intimacy that crossed species boundaries. The Convergence scientists observed their bond with scholarly interest, documenting the first successful human-Zolari pair bonding. "And the anomalous energy readings?" Mercer asked, having learned enough xenobiology to participate in these discussions. Dr. Vega's expression grew serious. "Increasing daily. The fetus appears to be generating a quantum field. We don't understand the implications." Later that night, in their shared quarters, Avaria guided Mercer's hand to her swollen belly. "Feel," she whispered. A sensation like electrical current flowed through him, followed by fragments of imagery. Stars being born, civilizations rising and falling, and a bridge between separated worlds. "It's communicating," he murmured in awe, "showing us possibilities." Avaria's luminescent eyes met his. "Futures where our kinds don't destroy each other." Mercer pulled her closer, their bodies fitting together despite their physiological differences. What had begun as awkward exploration had become something profound, a physical expression of the bridge they themselves represented. "I never imagined feeling this way again," he confessed against her silver skin. "After losing my family, I thought that part of me was dead. And I never imagined finding connection with a human," she replied, her fingers tracing the scars on his shoulder. "We are as improbable as the child we protect." Their peaceful existence at the sanctuary proved short-lived. A week later, alarms blared throughout the station. Multiple ships approaching, the security chief reported. Human military signatures. Mercer's blood ran cold. Devereaux found us. But the follow-up report brought worse news. Second Fleet detected. Zalari warships on intercept course. How? Avaria gasped. How could both find us? The answer came from Dr. Vega, her face ashen. The child's quantum field. It's broadcasting. Like a beacon. Evacuate the station, Mercer ordered, military training taking over. We'll use the research vessel to draw them away. No, Avaria said firmly, her hands protective over her distended abdomen. The child is nearly ready. This is happening for a reason. As preparation for battle stations echoed around them, Avaria pulled Mercer into a final embrace. Whatever happens, she whispered, remember that what we created together is more powerful than their hatred. Mercer held her tightly, feeling the child stir between them. Then let's show them. The observation deck of the sanctuary station provided a panoramic view of the standoff. Human and Zalari warships faced each other across the vacuum, weapons hot, while inside, Avaria labored to bring forth a new form of life. Push, Dr. Vega urged as Mercer supported Avaria's trembling body. The child is coming. On the communications channel, Major Devereaux's ultimatum played on repeat. Surrender the alien and the specimen, or we will open fire. The Zalari response had been equally uncompromising. The abomination must be destroyed, along with all who shelter it. Avaria screamed, her back arching as psychic energy crackled around her. The lights throughout the station flickered, and monitoring equipment shorted out in cascading failures. Something's happening, Dr. Vega warned, backing away as Avaria's skin began to glow with an inner luminescence. Mercer held fast, despite the energy burning his palms. I'm here, he promised. We finish this together. With a final cry, Avaria delivered their child into a world poised on the brink of renewed war. The infant, neither fully human nor Zalari, opened eyes that swirled with galaxies. And then, silence. Total, absolute silence fell across all channels. The battleships outside froze in position. What's happening? Mercer whispered. Dr. Vega checked her instruments with shaking hands. The quantum field. It's expanded, encompassing all ships in the vicinity. The infant in Avaria's arms glowed softly, its tiny features serene despite the chaos it had been born into. As they watched in awe, view screens throughout the station activated simultaneously, showing identical scenes on every ship in both fleets. Humans and Zalari experiencing each other's memories, their fears, their loves, their losses. Neural bridge, Avaria explained weakly, her strength ebbing after the difficult birth. The child is showing them everything. No secrets. No propaganda. Just truth. Hours later, when communications resumed, the tone had fundamentally changed. Request for parley. Ceasefire proposals. And from both fleets, scientific teams requesting permission to approach, not with weapons, but with questions. Major Devereaux herself led the human delegation that cautiously entered the sanctuary. Her face, upon seeing the hybrid child, transformed from military rigidity to scientific wonder. The psychic imprint, she said quietly to Mercer. I felt. I understood them. For the first time. The Zalari commander, a stern warrior named Thrax, approached Avaria with traditional gestures of respect that had not been seen since before the war. The convergence was right, he acknowledged. Our future lies in unity, not conquest. As the diplomats and scientists gathered, Mercer and Avaria presented their child, whom they had named Nova, for the new star around which both civilizations would now orbit. Not a weapon, Mercer announced. Not an experiment. A child, born of both worlds, belonging to both peoples. 1 year later, the Treaty of Sanctuary established the first formal peace between humans and Zalari. Research colonies flourished as both species explored their new compatible biology. And at the center of it all, a family once considered impossible, a human soldier, a Zalari scientist, and their remarkable child, stood as living proof that evolution favored not those who fought most fiercely, but those brave enough to transform. Nova, growing faster than any human or Zalari child, already showed signs of abilities beyond either parent species, not just psychic power or human adaptability, but something entirely new. The ability to build bridges between different minds, different worlds. As Mercer watched Avaria teaching their child to focus its gifts, he reflected on the strange path that had led him from soldier to father, from hatred to love. Worth it? Avaria asked, sensing his thoughts as she often did now, their own neural connection strengthening daily. Mercer smiled, embracing his family, the living embodiment of peace that war could never have achieved. Every risk, every sacrifice, he affirmed. Some futures must be fought for, even when the fight means laying down your weapons.